Hello everyone and welcome to another video. I'm back from vacation and today I'm bringing you the long-awaited review of the Sony 70-200 G Master Mark II. So sit back, enjoy, relax, maybe grab some snacks and enjoy the review of this amazing lens. Well, first of all, in my last video, when I talked about the gear, which is I think 3 or 4 months old, I talked about the Sony 70-200 as the next lens I wanted to pick up, and I also did that. I bought this lens in March, so I have it for 3 months now. I took it through various tests, so I went skiing with it, I went to the zoo with it, I also took it to Madeira. So this lens, I already got some experience with the lens and I already got some results of the lens in both category of video and photo. And just overall, a few of my thoughts about this lens is this lens is capable of literally doing anything that I want to capture, film. Yeah, this lens is just amazing. This lens can do everything. So if you really want an all-rounder, 70-200 is a really good choice for you. First of all, what is this lens? The 70-200 is from the Sony G Master lineup. There's also a version which is G OSS version, which is an f4, because this one is, as you can see on the aperture ring, is an f2.8, and also on the markings it's an f2.8, which makes this lens really versatile because you can also use it in various low light situations in which, for example, my 200-600 is struggling a little bit. So if I went out a little bit later and still wanted to capture some wildlife, I always took the 70-200 because of the 2.8, so you can also take great pictures when it's getting darker and also take flying shots when it's getting darker, because at F6.3 the 200-600 is struggling a little bit. So this is the perfect compensation for getting these low light shots. And one major difference is also the size. This lens is much more compact. It's much easier to travel with, which I also really enjoyed when going around a little bit. This lens is really lightweight compared to everything else I own, and normally carrying my lens, I also have a strap, but I'm not using it that often. I'm mostly shooting handheld, and when I'm having a strap around me, I'm feeling a little bit limited with my flexibility, so I normally don't use it. But I have a clip for my backpack where I can clip the lens and the camera right on my shoulder here, and so I can have easy access when I need to shoot something, which is really handy. And therefore this lens is really nice. It weighs in at 1045 grams, which is I think 400 grams lighter than the G Master 2.8 version 1. So this is version 2. It's an upgrade version, has better autofocus. It is much lighter because I also had my hands on the version 1 and it was quite heavy, so you really feel a difference. And this is also why I went for the version 2. It just made much more sense for me to pick up this lens. And one thing I also really enjoy about this lens is, unfortunately I don't own a teleconverter yet, but I'm planning on picking up a 2x and a 1.4x, because this lens is perfectly for teleconverters. So normally it's 70-200 with constant aperture of f2.8. With a 2x, for example, it makes it to a 140-400 with a constant aperture of f5.6, which is better at 400 millimeters than the 200-600, which is at f6.3 at 400 millimeters. So it also has the upper hand on this point. So really looking forward to getting a teleconverter on this. But more about this lens now in particular. What are the main use cases for this lens? As I said at the beginning, it's a very versatile lens, so you can literally use it for anything. A A friend of mine is a portrait photographer. She borrowed this lens from me because I'm not really shooting people. Sounds a little bit weird. I'm not really taking photos of people. So I bought this lens for mainly wildlife, nature, and anything else I want to really shoot. But wildlife and nature are my main points. I lent her the lens because she wanted to test out how a 70-200 works for her work, and she was really amazed by this lens. She also said 70-200, such a versatile focal length. I want to pick up something like this. What should I pick up? I mean, I instantly recommended this lens to her, but we have to still consider that the 70-200 f2.8 is sitting at a price point of 3,000 euros with some discounts, maybe 2,800 euros. So it's really expensive. So in the end she picked up the Sigma 70-200 f2.8, which also is a great lens. But yeah, I stick to the Sony. So I use the lens mainly for wildlife, and I, for example, picked up the lens, and the first thing I did was go to the zoo with it, to Schönbrunn in Vienna. This is near my hometown, and I photographed nearly every animal with the lens, from close distance to far distance, flying shots, sitting still, everything. I used this lens in the zoo, and I think it was the perfect travel companion with me for such cases. So I could not have imagined traveling with a 200-600 in the zoo, going around like this with the heavy setup. We went to the zoo, I think, for 4 or 5 hours, so this would have been really exhausting, and with this lens it was a breeze. So going around, having it on the backpack, having it with the strap around, seeing some cool animals, taking it out, shooting at it. Really amazing lens for such cases. Also traveled with it to Madeira, took some nature photos, but also some wildlife photos of the Madeira chaffin or of the Mandarin duck, which you maybe also already saw on Instagram. With this lens, all shots from Madeira were taken with this lens. I also had the 24-70 with me, but I think I didn't even take one picture with it. Also a great lens, but this was my travel lens. I really enjoyed it. I have to say, most of the times I travel with the lens, I have the lens cap off. I don't really use it because the lens cap is sadly something which is really big and spare, which you cannot store easily like the lens itself. Because if I put the lens cap on like this, the lens doesn't fit in my backpack. I would, but then I would have to change up the little pockets I made, and so I mostly use the lens like this, go around and shoot with it. One thing I also use this lens is for filming weddings. I'm also a filmmaker, filming weddings, product videos for different kind of businesses. And for that case, I also really love this lens, because especially when filming a wedding, for example, you want to keep a little bit in the background. You maybe have a job there, you have to do your job, you have to film the whole wedding, but you're not the main character, because the wedding people are the main character. So you want to stay a little bit in the back, and with a 24-70, it's quite difficult to stay in the back because you need to get the shots, and with this lens you need to get closer to the subjects. And there is the point where the 70-200 comes in very handy, because you can stay behind all the people, you still get a nice distance to all the action, and you still can capture all the action. So I was really amazed at the first wedding I took with this lens, and I can't imagine going to any photo shoot or film shoot again without taking my 70-200. So this really got really fast, my favorite lens. The lens also has a few custom buttons on the side, which you can see right here. I'm going to show you the settings I use. Some of them I switch between the photo shoot, but normally I use these settings. One thing I also really like about the lens is the aperture ring. I think this is something that don't many people use, but I really enjoy it. So I don't have to switch the aperture inside of the camera, I can do it on the lens. And then you also have some custom buttons, free custom buttons in front here, which you can program yourself to do whatever you want. I also don't use these buttons. Most of the settings I do are inside of my camera. And yeah. I also want to talk about one thing about this lens, which is the lens foot. If you're used to carrying your lens like this, which I most of the times do, so camera attached here, carrying the lens like this, it's really handy if you have a bigger lens foot. This is the iShoot lens foot. This is not sponsored or anything. I just picked this up from Amazon. I'm also going to link it down in the description. This is a really handy lens foot, which you can just screw on like the normal lens foot. One thing that is important with these kind of lens foot is that you screw it on really tightly, because the release button is right in front of here. I hope you can see this. And if you carry the lens like this, it can happen that you accidentally trigger the release button and then it would slide off. But if you tighten it really well, then this is not going to happen. I always have this foot attached, which gives you a better grip. And a positive point, you also have it that it has an Arca-Swiss plate right on the lens foot, which for example Sigma or other brands have originally. So you have to buy another lens foot for this, but it's really not that expensive, and it really made my 70-200 and also my 200-600 way handier, because I also got the lens foot on this, on the other lens. If you're really looking out for a versatile lens which can really shoot anything, go for a 70-200. You don't have to go for the Sony, you can also go for something like the Sigma or pick up a F4 version of the Sony. But I'm really glad that I picked up this lens, not regretting it at all, really in love with it. I think that's all for the video. I hope you enjoyed this little review. If you have the pocket money for it, go for it, pick it up. Really suits all kind of Sony full frame cameras. I have not used it with an APS-C, to be honest, but I used it on my A4, worked great. Then I picked up, little sneak peek, picked up the A9 III. Love this camera. I'm really looking forward to doing a review of the camera, but unfortunately, since the time point I picked up the A9, all kind of wildlife seems to just disappear and run away from me. So I still have to get a bit more footage with the A9 so I can do a review with it. But I hope you like the video as much as I like this bad boy right here. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.